Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
November 3, 2020, the Election Day edition. First up from the Wall Street Journal, the Treasury Department has warned the art market against sanctions risks. The Treasury Department is concerned that vulnerabilities in the art market could be exploited by malign actors to evade U.S. sanctions, and is urging galleries, museums, and other participants in the market to implement compliance programs to mitigate such risks. OFAC published an advisory on Friday and said the lack of transparency and high level of anonymity in high-value art transactions could make the market attractive to individuals or entities engaging in illicit financial activities. Next up, and indeed all the stories are from the Wall Street Journal today, Citigroup's chief risk officer is leaving the company. He will depart as the bank works to overhaul its risk management program. Brad Hu, a 12-year veteran of Citigroup, will remain in his position until the end of the year to ensure a smooth transition. His departure comes after a federal financial regulator fined Citigroup $400 million and ordered the bank to fix its risk management systems, citing significant ongoing deficiencies. So I guess getting rid of their chief risk officer was a step they were going to have to take given the abysmal state of their risk program. Next up, the SEC has extended efforts to help private companies raise capital. It adopted a rule Monday to help companies raise capital without going public, the latest in a series of measures likely to further bolster private markets. Commissioners voted to expand several exemptions to federal securities laws that require issuers to register with the SEC, publish financial statements and other key information before accepting investors' money. Companies will also be allowed to make such exempt offerings as they are known within as little as 30 days of one another, rather than waiting every 6 months as is currently required. This is part of SEC Commissioner Jay Clayton's continued attempts to either gut the protection for investors or allow smaller companies access to private markets. But whatever it is, it certainly takes away from the regulatory aspect and informational aspect for investors. And finally, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Serious Fraud Office, has reached a deferred prosecution with an airline services, appropriately called Airline Services, a Manchester-based UK company no longer engaging in business. The terms of the agreement were approved by the court in a public hearing last Friday. Under the terms of the agreement, Airline Services admitted to 3 counts of failure to prevent bribery arising from the alleged use of an agent to win contracts to re-equip airliners for Lufthansa. The company also agreed to pay a $3.8 million penalty and fine. The agreement enabled Airline Services to avoid future prosecutions as long as it complies with the terms of the agreement, including the payment of the penalty, full cooperation with the SFO, and any other law enforcement agencies. The agreement will expire in 1 year. As I noted, Airline Services is no longer in business, but will be kept open to fulfill the terms of. Tomorrow is the most significant election in the United States in nearly 100 years. Please vote. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.